Good day, folks. This is Greg Judy at Green Pastures Farm. This is May 9th. We just finished up the grazing school yesterday, and we got a blustery, cool afternoon or morning here. We caught, I think it was between 3/4 and 7/8 of an inch of rain last night. 55-mile-an-hour winds, and luckily we don't have anything blown down. There were some people south of us that actually lost some buildings. I guess there was just those straight winds really do your buildings harm if you get in the line of those, but we didn't have any of that. Of course, there's no buildings up here really to tear down on this farm, so sure could have worked on the trees though. Anyway, we just moved to a cattle mall. This is a cow-calf herd, and I think they just tagged their 79th calf for the last, I think we've got those in like 3 weeks, 2.5, 3 weeks. So they really have accelerated the calving by taking the bulls out March 1st, putting them back in July 1st. It's really done a number on tightening up that. So loving that part. I like to get it done, you know. But right here is where the fence was at. I don't know, can you see that four-wheeler track? Just barely. That's how tall the grass is. And the boys just rolled that wire up. So we're not keeping in a back fence. This is where they were at yesterday. We got there's two paddocks over there. So 2 8-hour or 8 to 9 hour paddocks. And we've got today and tomorrow in front of us here. I'm sorry, this morning and tonight. They're going to that last paddock over there. And then we've got we got 2 more paddocks on this farm. We're going to be doing a road drive down to the Judy farm with, well, if it stays where it's at, 79 babies. And the rest of the cows and the yearlings and such. So we're going to have all hands on deck for that. And so the boys are up there checking on that very far ridge over there. We left the gates open. They took them off that ridge last night. And we've learned, you know, when you take them off of an area like that, there's lots of hiding spots up there. Just leave the gate open. Leave the gate open. Cows that are very anxious to move, they'll move with the mob sometimes, and they've got a baby they just had. It's up there in them trees somewhere. You're not going to know it. And you come back the next morning or the next 12 hours, you may have a cow standing at that gate there bawling her head off because she couldn't get to her new baby calf, and now he's went, 8 to 10, 12 hours without sucking, and it just ruins a calf. If a calf can't suck, every, let's say 4 or 5 hours when they're first born, man, it just stunts them for life. They never get over it. So don't be closing gates behind your cow herd when you're calving. Leave those gates open, and when you see the cow gets the calf and gets caught up, put a tag in it, well, then you can close the gate. It's not hurting the thing. Those cows are not going to go back up on that hill over there because it got grazed yesterday. It got foot traffic and poop and pee on it, and they laid on it. They walked through it. It's got a lot of cattle smell on it. Why would they go back over there when they have this? I mean, yeah. So this, the questions I get a lot of time is, Greg, what did you seed in here? This is a farm we've had for 19 years. We've never seeded anything on this farm. And it was one of those farms that was continuously grazed. And so for basically 50 years, it had about 100 cows on it that were never moved. They were continuously stocked on here. And there was no grass at all, zero. It was always just a bare parking lot. So just remember, one of your tools in your grazers, one of the most important tools in your grazer's toolbox is the tool of rest. Don't forget that. It's huge. oh, these cows are slicking off, they're putting on weight. The calves are looking good. Just haven't had any issues at all with the calves. I mean, I think somebody knew what they were doing. They have the deer fawn in the spring. All the wildlife fawns in the spring. And they knew what they were doing. That's the natural time to calve. And I understand why people calve in the fall, especially on Kentucky 31 fescue. You know, a lot of people have trouble with the toxin. And in the fall, it's cooler, the toxin in the fescue. And their method is, by calving in the fall, they're escaping the heat, so they can turn their bulls in the end of November. So it's cool weather when the bulls are breeding the cows. And those cows will be calving around the 1st of September the following year. And so those calves, by the time winter gets there, you just count it up, September, October, November, they've got 90 days on them. Pretty good sized calf that they can take the winter. And the cow, by 90 days later, assuming they calve the 1st of September, which, we all know in the perfect world they're going to be some in probably October. But the early calved calves, early born, they're not going to be taking down quite as much milk. So the cow, but still, that cow's lactating through the winter. And you got to have a pretty good cow and pretty good forage to do that, or they'll get thin on you. And we've got some fall calving cows, not very many. But, if a person wanted to just go to one calving season, you just eliminate those. Just sell them. Sell them to somebody that's doing fall calving. He can build his numbers up, and you can just go to spring calving. Or, if there's a lot of heat and you're having trouble with your bulls breeding because it's too hot, because we turn ours in July, maybe you want to go to a fall calving. And then you'd want to sell all your spring calving cows. It's tough having two herds, all the time. So, yeah, it just makes it harder to manage. But right now we got the bull mob, we got the cow mob, and then we got the sheep. So we only have to go to July 1st, and we're going to be down to just 2 mobs. We'll have the cow and the bulls, and then we'll have the sheep. And the sheep typically follow the cows. After the cows come out, we're getting ready to do that where they're lambing right now. The bulls are actually on a paddock that the sheep will be going into here pretty soon. And I noticed the bulls leave a lot of the seed heads, and the sheep, they love seed heads. They'll go along and clip them seed heads off like they're eating candy bars. So it's a really nice compromise. Boy, oh boy. This is my favorite time of year. I mean, you can turn cows into grass like this and just let them do the rest of the work. There's a lot of diversity. There's of course, clover, bluegrass. The Timothy hasn't come on yet. There's orchard grass. There's a little bit of fresh buckbrush right there came up. Here's some young goldenrod. They'll just grab that right with a mouthful of grass. Now when the goldenrod gets more mature, the cows don't eat it so well. They will. I've made them eat it. I put them in tight. They just had to eat it. That's all there was. And they ate it, and it cost me some animal performance. I could tell that night when I tightened them down like that, and I left them too long. I left them in there like 6 hours. It's a fairly good sized paddock of goldenrod, but there wasn't anything else in there but goldenrod. And when I went to move the cows that night, they were kind of drawn up, sunken in a little bit. So you wouldn't want to get in the habit of doing that all the time. It's going to be hard on your cows. Boy, look at that little cow, 987. You are a beaut. She's already shed off. Got just a tiny little bit of hair on top of her back. 195, you're just a brute. Big old gut. Big old gut. She's almost slick. Got a great big old fermentation tank on her to hold all that grass. This cow here, 410. Boy, she's got a beautiful calf. I'm gonna get you up, 172. Maybe. He'll get up here in a minute. If I go slow, maybe I can get closer. What a beautiful calf. Boy, she's got him cleaned up good. He's all licked off. There's no manure on his butt. Her. Oh, that's a beautiful heifer. Thank you, 410. You reproduced yourself. Folks, that's the beautiful thing about the cattle business. They reproduce themselves on grass. I didn't have to feed them grain to do this. This is grass. I didn't have to go buy. I had to run to town and get a truckload of corn to do this. It's grass. It's growing out here on the land. Nobody controls it but me. And the better I manage the grass, the more calves and the more cows that I can graze, the better living you can make on the land. So it's an extremely rewarding profession. The more you manage it and pay attention to detail, the better you do. It's that plain and simple. So I'm really, really pumped about the future of this, especially after a grazing school. My gosh, we had 115 people showed up from all over the world. And they went home. One guy on Saturday morning told me, we still had the one day to go. He goes, Greg, I'm so dang pumped. He said, last night at the hotel, I told my mom, I said, we just need to go home right now. There's too many things I got to get done. He goes, but I didn't want to miss the sheep pasture walk. So he came back, but golly, he was pumped, which I just love that. 181, man, you are slicked off. Look at that cow right there. Woo. Really slicked off. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sign out of here. Everyone new to this channel, hit that subscribe button on the way out. And we're going to see y'all down the road.